I can tell you guys nothing is going according to plan this morning. The whole opening Twitch video screwed up. I planned to get going immediately at 10 a.m. local time, and as soon as the clock hit 10 a.m., I hit the stream button, and then the broadcasting software just kicked me out. And it gave me a bunch of error messages, and Twitch thinks I'm still signed in somewhere, and got to reset the stream key, and I haven't streamed for a while, so it seems with every stream I ever do, I always run into a bunch of problems. So let's just hope the problems stop there for this morning. Welcome to the stream, wherever you are tuning in from around the world. We are here, the streams are back, and it is time for Orbx Telluride. I want to start here because usually we start in the simulator, and today we're actually starting with the manual. And the reason why I want to do that is because it's important for you to know that once we're in the sim, that you know what settings I am using. There are a lot of settings and a lot of things you need to do to get Telluride working correctly. As we all know, Jared Marshall, the mastermind behind this project, who's also tuning in this morning, he's in the chat there somewhere, so you guys feel free to say hello to Jared. He's well known for doing these very high elevation airports, and as many of you may or may not know, high elevation airports in prepared is a little bit of a pain in the ass, and I'm probably putting that mildly. I'm sure Jared in his own words will probably say a lot more than that, but high elevation airports are definitely something of an issue in prepared, and I know a lot of people were really upset that Jackson Hole didn't come around with the triple installer and quad installer sooner than it did, and it was because so much work had to be done to work with higher elevations. So the guys over on the Lockheed Martin team, they listened to the developers, they've made whatever changes or enhancements they needed to do. So doing high elevation airports is certainly something that's a lot easier and a lot more doable than ever before, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't still come with its shortcomings and limitations. And so because of these shortcomings and limitations, there are a lot of things that you need to do in your simulator. Oh boy, what the hell? Get out of here. I don't know what's going on today. I'm telling you, every time I do a stream, the shit hits the fan. All right, let's hope that's not something serious. Yeah, so there's a lot of things you need to do to make sure that this shows up properly in your simulator. And additionally, Jared has also added a lot of interesting features that I certainly have not seen before. And of course, they're all part of what you need to do here. So in the setup that I have going right now, just so you guys have a little bit of an idea of what's going on, I do have FTX Vector installed. Airport APX configuration, this is an interesting tool here, and what this does is this makes all runways available, and clicking this bottom one here only gets you runway 9, which is the best option for AI traffic. If you guys remember Innsbruck way back in the day in FS9, I think actually probably the first version, which was done by the German airports team, one of the issues you had if you had AI is aircraft could not navigate. Oh man, come on, are you serious? You're killing me. Aircraft could not navigate through the mountains to line up onto the runway, so what wound up happening is the AI would just fly directly through the mountains or directly into the mountains. And the way AI is set up now is AI will not fly through mountains anymore the way they used to back in FS9. They will literally hit the mountain and bounce off, and that was something that I learned with, what was that, by FSDG up in, I'm trying to remember the name of that airport up in the near the Himalayas there. But yeah, I had my AI, they were taking off from the runway and they couldn't gain altitude high enough, so they literally just hit the mountain and bounce off. So having runway 9 only, what this does is this kind of helps probably 90% of your AI navigate down to runway 9. The only downside is in your what is that called? Your ATC, all runways will not be available, only runway 9. So that's just something you have to keep in mind if you use that setting. I obviously use AI traffic, so that's the setting that I have going on there. I've got full static aircraft and airside GSE, and then you have this area here where it says terrain hardened platform options. Now, because this is such a high elevation airport, there's a lot of different elevations at the airport itself. So for example, you have the runway and the taxiways and aprons are different elevations from all of the surrounding areas. So if you're someone like me and you like to maybe walk around with the avatar guy, or maybe you want to drive around in a car or something like that, this elevates a lot of the areas surrounding the airport as well. But for some of you with lower end systems, this is definitely going to affect your performance. So you might want to keep it at very simple, which really just kind of keeps it down to the bare minimum. In my case, I have it set up to detailed terrain platform, and this can have a severe impact on frames. I did run a test on that yesterday, or last night, or rather actually early this morning, and it actually worked quite well for me. So I know a lot of you guys like to see the avatar guy running around. So in the case of that, if he is to leave the actual airport itself and walk around the surrounding area, we need this detailed terrain platform. So for some of you who couldn't possibly care less about avatar guy and all that nonsense, you might want to keep it to simple. Taking a look at where these hardened areas are, the blue here, this is basically your basic hardened area. This is where you keep things a little bit simple, and of course the more detailed you get, as you can see here, these are more areas that are hardened around. So obviously if you're just flying on the airport, hanging out on the apron and taking off again, you may not want to elect to have it, but it depends on who you are and the system you have, and if you're someone like me, you'll probably just turn everything on. Now here's one of the most interesting things about the scenery. This is one of the things that I don't think I've ever seen before, and this is the ability, depending on what simulator you use, depending on what type of sky textures you use in Rex, or just whatever is most pleasing to your eye, you can actually go into the configuration tool and you can select, and I can't obviously do this in real time because the simulator is running in the background, which is why I'm getting these errors. I'm running too much stuff. But you can actually go in and select how bright or how dark you want the surrounding terrain to be. And that's very, very interesting, especially maybe even for some of you who may not be using the FTX Global, which you should be using FTX Global. But I know a lot of you guys like to use what is that, like photoreal terrain and stuff like that, and this is not really designed for that, but this might help that blend a little bit better, maybe not. But the real purpose for this is the actual, and let me just scroll back up here, the actual purpose for this is all basically a 3D model. That's what that is. So when you're working at high elevations like this, it is really extremely difficult to try to actually manipulate the terrain within FSX and Prepared. I mean, it's in some cases it's impossible, but it may be possible, but it's a lot easier to work around the surrounding terrain and then build a 3D model on top of it, and that's why you have these different hardened details. So the problem is that the 3D model in some cases may not blend perfectly with the surrounding environment. The surrounding environment you can change because, or you can change the coloration because this is all colored in Photoshop. But when it comes to the 3D model, this can only remain one color. You really can't change this. And the way Prepared works as opposed to FSX is if you go in and you play with that that little time compression tool, you'll notice that the terrain actually changes colors, sim objects, everything kind of changes colors as the sun works its way across the sky. And because some of you guys in Rex might have these like really purplish skies, I've seen people with like these really dark blues and bright purples and all these different colors, so it can really make the terrain look a little bit weird. So depending on how your settings are set up in Rex, you can actually adjust all the surrounding terrain to kind of help match the airport and this entire 3D object that was placed there. So that's kind of the real purpose for all of this, and it's really interesting. Now I have mine set at just default noontime, and I think that's just kind of the best place to start. But once you have it, or if you already do have it, you might want to kind of play around with these settings based on your own particular setup. So that's just give you a little bit of an idea, and he does get into a little bit more of this in the instruction manual. So if you're a person like me and you're like, I'm a man, I don't need no instruction manual, in this case, yeah, you do want to go through the manual because there are a lot of things that were done here to make this high elevation airport. When I say high elevation, I mean we're on final approach at like 10,000 feet here, okay? So yeah, a lot of things had to go in to make this happen. So make sure that you're paying attention to this manual, and there are a lot of things that you need to do to set this up properly. If you go back to the release post over at AirDailyX, one of the things you definitely want to make sure you take a look at. Actually, you know what, let me do something here real quick. I was seeing those error messages and I wasn't too happy with that. I'm going to try to see if I can free up some memory real quick. So yeah, there's a lot of things you need to do, a lot of things associated with vector. So if you fire it up for the first time and there's holes and plateaus and stuff all over the scenery, then one of the things you want to make sure you go in and do is that you read that manual and make sure that everything is set up properly, because there's a lot more that you need to do than what I've shown here. But I just really want to kind of drive that point home, that you need to, there's a lot of work you need to do before you can just fire up and fly. I'm just going to try to free up some memory here. The great thing about Prepared version 3 is that it now dumps things out of memory manually as you fly out of an area, or I can use this little tool here and just dump things out of memory for the entire system, because I was running a lot of stuff in the background as I was trying to get Twitch up and running. So just bear with me one moment while we clear everything out. Come on. There we go. All right, well, we recovered a little bit there. Hopefully that whole Windows arrow thing won't pop up again. That's where I never, ever see that. So it's only natural that it would start that crap up right when I'm in the middle of trying to broadcast here. All right, let's pull up Prepared. And there we are. So we're starting off in Vail this morning. That was the latest airport released by Jared, another high elevation masterpiece of his, and I thought, what a better place to start than Vail. So what I want to do right now is a quick sound check. I'm going to take off the pause here. If the sound is too loud, if the aircraft or anything is too loud, or if my voice is too loud, whatever the case is, I'm going to wait just a second and pan around here to make sure that the sound is okay, because sometimes the sound from the simulator can be a little bit overwhelming for you guys. So I'm just going to hang on here for just a second, wait for someone to pop in the chat there that everything is okay, and then we'll go ahead and get started. And again, apologies for the delay, folks, but welcome aboard. And if you missed it, there is a Vail stream in which I had a live interview with Jared. So make sure you pop back on over to airdailyx.net and check out the Vail stream, especially if you don't have this particular airport, because it is amazing. And what I love most about this airport is the approach. It is a really nice approach coming through the Eagle County area and onto this approach. And as a matter of fact, Ed Valdez, who is going to be speaking at this year's Flight SimCon, he's a Gulfstream pilot, and he's going to be giving a seminar at the convention. So if you're coming down to the convention, you want to make sure that you check out his seminar, because he's going to be talking about crossing the pond. That's the thing for this one. But in fact, we were supposed to reserve a G5 or a G6 yesterday for an interview, and I guess we couldn't get it in time, so we're gonna try to get a G6 maybe next week, and we're gonna have a nice cool little interview in that bad boy. But included with that video is him approaching and departing from Vail, that we're gonna include in that video in the Gulfstream G5. So something really cool. He's got all his GoPros set up there on the flight deck, and we get to watch him do the approach and departure procedure. So that's going to be really cool. So you guys look for that coming up pretty soon. But okay, so looks like the sound is good. So let's go ahead and head on over to the... Oh, come on. Don't screw with me, Trek IR, please. Everything else has gone wrong this morning. All right, let's go ahead and make our way over to the active. Now, the flight over to Vail is really short, so I'm not going to even bother putting in a flight plan. I just thought it would be nice to have a business jet, because these are really business jet airports. And I thought, well, since everything looks so good with Jared, might as well complement it with a very good-looking business jet, even if it doesn't exactly fly according to real life. So we'll do some stick and rudder work on the way over to Telluride. And as a matter of fact, let me just pull up my performance here. Everything so far is looking very smooth, very fluid. Take a look at my performance counter, getting about 35 to 43 frames per second. Not bad at all. Just taking a look around at this lovely, beautiful terrain here. Jared is indeed a master of his craft. And unfortunately, he won't be at Flight Sim Con this year. He wanted to go, but Jared actually got married recently. So let's go ahead and give him a little congratulations there. You know, it takes a terrific woman to put up with us flight simulation nerds and geeks. So any of us in this community who are married or have girlfriends that put up with this, those are the women you want to keep. Because it takes a special person to put up with us. And for those of you who are already married, you already know what I'm talking about. Requires a lot of patience from a woman to be patient with us guys who are so, you know, in other words, they kind of have to share us with the hobby. And, you know, for many of us, the hobby is like another woman. So it's like a woman is sharing you with another woman. So indeed, it may sound weird to a lot of you, but it is no doubt true, because a lot of us are really obsessed and passionate. As much about this as probably we are with our significant others. So may sound funny and weird, but it is so very true. And you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, take a quick look over at the comments. All right, let's go ahead and get this show on the road here. Need to pop in my other earphone here. All right, here we go. So can you guys hear the engines there? Hopefully you can. I don't want it to be too quiet. And we're rolling. That's the thing I love about Vail, is when you're on your takeoff roll and you're heading directly toward a mountain. Isn't that just lovely? Nothing dangerous about that at all, especially when after you rotate and you leave the ground and then a few seconds later you look back outside the window and the ground is still like right underneath your landing gear. It's like, are we climbing or what? Loads of fun. And I do have ASN running, and wow, right after takeoff I'm hitting some chop here. Ooh. Choppy. Oh, she's shaking and baking. Speaking of Active Sky, another team that will be present at this year's Flight Sim Con. I spoke a little bit about Rex earlier. They will be at this year's Flight Sim Con as well. It's going to be a huge event. Never before have we ever seen so many developers under one roof. So if you're going, you're in for a real treat. And the guys from Pilots as well, including Orbx. It's going to be huge. Just taking a look at that beautiful terrain. In fact, let's switch over to the external view. And there's lovely Vail there in our wake. As we start the turn and begin our little journey over into Telluride. And CX-17 was at Flight Sim Con 2015. He says it was awesome. Yeah, this will be the fourth Flight Sim Con event, and the first 2 years around was really small. Not too many people showed up. It was really more of a way for a lot of the you know, the ATC air traffic controllers and fans to kind of just meet up. In fact, that's pretty much what it was the first 2 years around, which is kind of a meetup. of flight simulation enthusiasts. And I think the second year they had a few vendors and stuff show up, which was pretty nice. And then this time around, you know, a lot more people decided to get involved. And it's kind of interesting because I was kind of the first, between myself and Jetline Systems, we were kind of the first to really kind of announce that we were gonna, you know, head over to Flight SimCon 2015, and that was back, I believe, in January of last year. And shortly thereafter, it just more and more people just started signing up and signing up and signing up. And so then after the convention, I spoke with a lot of other developers and development companies, and they were like, man, we weren't really sure that people were going to show up. We thought it was going to be kind of a dud. And now we saw that, you know, so many people showed up, and now we regret not going. And so now all of those developers, or at least most of them now, have stepped up and are like, yeah, you know what, we're definitely coming this year. Fly Tampa was definitely planning to be there this year. Unfortunately, some other things kind of earlier this year. He was planning to come, and he had his trip to the States a little bit earlier this year. So a little bit difficult when you come out and then have to come out again, because obviously it's not cheap making this journey. I think I'm in the hole probably about $3,000 for the convention, maybe a little bit more. So obviously it's not cheap to come out to these events. But for those of you guys who are crossing the pond coming out from Europe, you know, much appreciated, you know, and especially just a huge thanks to all of the developers who are getting involved. Really big deal, and the fact that all of you guys are kind of coming out and supporting it just really says a lot about your kind of passion and commitment to the hobby. So of course this year is going to be huge, and I think this is going to be probably one of the biggest conventions just kind of in the history of conventions, period, because so many people are showing up just to see their favorite developers and get an opportunity to meet them. Ooh, a little bit of overspeed here. So yes, an excellent opportunity to meet some of your favorite developers, and a lot of announcements are going to be taking place at the community, or at the convention as well. A lot of new products that are going to be showcased. So a lot of things that you'll want to be able to see in real time. So a few things that I already know about that I'm really excited about that I can't really talk about, but for the few of you who can't be there, I'm working on some interesting ways to kind of stream some of the event live, especially a lot of the interviews and stuff. Of course, after the convention, I'll be coming back home and doing a lot of post-editing and kind of making the interviews and stuff a little bit more professional looking for screen. But I set up a Periscope account, and on Periscope, I found a way. There's really no way to embed a Periscope stream directly on a computer. I've tried so many ways, or directly on a website I should say. I've tried so many ways to try to find a way to make that happen, and it's just been really, really difficult. So I came up with another way where I can stream from my phone. And so what basically I'm going to be trying to do is streaming from my phone to my laptop, and then through the broadcasting software through Twitch. So the plan is to kind of have a multi-camera setup. I have a huge camera rig set up for the interviews, and so I'll have my cell phone on the camera rig, and that'll broadcast to the laptop, which will also have a webcam. And so hopefully you'll get kind of a little bit of a side-by-side view from the Air Daily X booth and from the camera that's mounted on top of the camera reception. So that some of you will be able to kind of see some of the interviews that I'll be doing, and I'll be doing a lot because there's so many vendors and developers that are showing up, and I want to try to get to everyone as much as I can. And the purpose of it is not to discourage you from coming, but for you to be able to kind of see everything that's going on, so that you'll have more of an impetus to show up again for next year, 2017, which I believe will be even more developers will make some time. And I think at this point the museum has allocated us, I think, about twice the amount of space as last year. But I think next year, I just don't think we're going to fit. So I'm pretty sure once all the final tallies come in from 2016, they'll start looking at where the event for 2017 is going to be, and is it going to be somewhere else in the country, or, you know, all those things will be decided after this event. So obviously the more people show up, the better. So this has been a public service announcement for Flight SimCon. All right, let's take a look here. We are probably about another 7 minutes out from our Telluride approach. Trying not to climb up too high because then I have to work on descending. And man, it is choppy up here. This little thing is getting tossed around quite a bit. We have got some thermals. Just scroll up here through some of the comments while we wait. So I know there's a lot of curiosity about the recently released Aerosoft Aspen scenery. And I'll try to get to that tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff that I'm backlogged on, and I've gotten a lot of emails from people who are like, when's the next stream going to come? I want to see this product and that product. So I'm really working on it. Amos took off from Vail, Eagle County, and en route. So it's a fairly short flight. About roughly probably, what, 15 minutes or so en route. So we should be on our approach here just in a few minutes. Welcome back from dinner there, Amos, who's also coming out to the convention. So yeah, gonna try to do Aspen tomorrow because I know there's a lot of curiosity about the Aerosoft Aspen scenery. After Aspen, we're going to be heading over to Chisinau and Bucharest. Two terrific Eastern European sceneries. You're really seeing this huge insurgence in Eastern Europe, and now we're heading over to Eastern Europe, the far Eastern Europe, where usually just used to be the land of freewares, excellent high-quality freeware, but now payware developers are finally heading into that region of Europe, so we're starting to see a lot of quality starting to head off in that direction. So really looking forward to putting those two in a stream. And I've been getting so many hits about all the recent airports in Norway, and I'm quite a bit behind. I think since the last Norway stream, I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 new airports for Norway. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. So I think we've got about 5, including one that's, I don't know if it's considered Norway or not, but that's the airport all the way up there in, where is it? Shoot, I am drawing a blank. Do not give me any geography lessons right now. It is still too early for me. But there's the airport that's Svalbard. Is that it? Is it starting to come to me? If I'm even pronouncing that right. So we've got the one there in the far north, and that one's from KDM Entertainment. In fact, speaking of which, I'm really curious to see what those guys are working on now at the moment. I imagine we'll start to see an announcement coming from them soon, as well as Joerland, whom I'm assuming will probably see another airport preview within the next couple months or so. So yeah, there's Kimo is pointing out Alta. That's one of the airports on the list. 2 from Orbx, which are very good, actually, especially, if I can remember. 2 were released by Orbx recently, but one of the 2 I was really extremely impressed with, and the name is escaping me at the moment, but I mean just really impressed with that airport. So yeah, so we'll be hitting the Norway mega stream, and that'll probably be maybe a Sunday morning stream when I have kind of more time to kind of hit all of those airports, and try to plan to do maybe 15 minutes at each airport, because I know a lot of people are just, you know, the Norway is kind of the de facto Pacific Northwest of Europe, just in terms of the terrain and, you know, beautiful approaches, beautiful scenery. So yeah, that's going to be the big mega Norway stream. Going to try to hit everything in one bang in that bad boy. So not sure if it's going to be this Sunday, but definitely on the big list there, coming up soon. So that kind of gives us a little bit of a roundup rather of what's coming along soon. And you can see the coverage area already in view, just looking straight ahead there on the horizon. Telluride, just on the other side of those mountains. We're going to be making our little left-hand turn here and start heading toward those mountains in just a moment. You know, these 2 airports, Telluride and Vail, are actually close, but far enough away that you really can get a nice flight in between the two. Which is actually perfect for me because sometimes I don't have time to fly at all. In fact, prior to last week, I did a couple of short hops, and before that, I did not fly anything probably for 3 weeks in a row. So, yeah, it's good to have nice short flights like this when I don't have time to do anything long haul. You get, between these two airports, you get kind of everything all rolled into one. You have your beautiful scenery and vistas and scenic views. You have your challenging elements between the two. Whether it's taking off or landing, really, it's a challenging element. So you kind of have everything, and then of course the flights in between are fairly short, so you kind of get everything kind of rolled up into one, and that's the great thing about these two particular airports. I've been doing a lot of flying between Sedona and Vail, and thank you, Dr. Pfizer. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he's referring to, and oh man, let me try to pronounce this here, Natoden. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, by Finney Hansen. And I believe that's the one. He did some hangars. There's this hangar that he did that's so impressive, and he did full internal modeling. If we're talking about the same airport there, just incredible. And as you're approaching the runway, again, if we're talking about the right airport, you have to approach the runway during certain times of the day because there's a road. It's kind of like kind of reminds me of Gibraltar, where there's kind of a road that runs in between or runs straight through the runway, and so during certain times of the day, for scheduled traffic, the road is closed off so that you get full use of the runway for the scheduled arrivals. But for the non-scheduled arrivals, which really would be smaller sort of prop aircraft, maybe business jets, you really only get use of half the runway. Okay, yeah, so that is Natoden, if I'm pronouncing that right. You only get use of half the runway, so, you know, knowing me, the way that I am, the kind of person I am, I'm like, I don't need no stinking manual. And then I'm coming in from the north, and I'm like, I'm on the phone with Push, I'm like, what the hell is that on the runway? I'm like, is something bleeding through, or am I missing something? And so just as I'm like about to touch down, I'm like, shit, there's something on the runway, and then I had to give it full power, and then start going around, and I'm like trying to look out the window, like, what the hell is that crap in the middle of the runway? And of course I didn't read the manual, so I kind of just did a quick loop and came around from the opposite direction against the wind, and landed and stopped really short and like really hit the brakes from whatever that was in the runway. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going on here. So I closed the simulator, pulled up the control panel, and I'm like, okay, how do I remove this? And I'm like, okay, there's not an option to remove this. What the hell is going on here? And then I pulled up the manual, which was the last, should have been the first option, turned out to be the last option, and as it turns out, that's an automatic setting. So you have to come in during certain times of day during the scheduled traffic where they close off that bit for the roads, so you get full use of the runway. So I thought, wow, that is really awesome, and it really is cool because it just kind of reminds you, okay, I'm coming in at a certain time. Am I going to come in during the scheduled traffic time or not? And if not, then I just got to be prepared to, you know, stop short of that thing. So I thought that was a really cool enhancement. Didn't see any cars crossing it, though. That probably would have been a cool little thing as well. So I don't think that part was modeled in, but that would have been like the last cool thing to see. In fact, I did a flight to Gibraltar a few nights ago. Just because I missed that airport. And on the final approach, the thing that I missed was the animated gates and the traffic crossing the runway, which stops when you approach. And I was reminded that that's an element of AES Light, which has, you know, it has still failed to find his way into prepared, unfortunately. It relies heavily on the Vista Mare engine, or whatever it's called. And so, unfortunately, there's no workaround. So I do miss AES Light because that was just such a cool program to have traffic stop for inbound aircraft. But nevertheless, for something like Natoden, the traffic really doesn't need to stop because the runway is permanently blocked off in that section of runway. So you can still have traffic, I guess, kind of flowing underneath you. But anyway, Finney Hansen did a really terrific job on that airport. I mean, everything that I would look for in an airport of that size, he covered. And I just can't tell you how impressed. In fact, I will probably go as far as to say that when I get excited, my mouth just like gets all in a twist. But that's probably my favorite Norwegian airport right now. I don't know, man. I'm really thinking about it because there are just so many things there that was done right, and all the little things that I look for that kind of, you know, gets my panties in a bunch. He really did nail on the head with that airport. So really looking forward to including that in the big Norwegian mega stream. So yeah, look forward to that. The downside is our friend Tor is still not done with his project yet. I don't know if it's ever going to come. I don't know. I'm really, I hate to say that, I hate to use the words disappointed, but yeah, I don't know what's taking so long. I don't know if he's creating like a whole new technology or something. I know that's the case with Prague from Aerosoft. They're developing some really new, like, super duper technology that apparently is embedded into the scenery, and it's held up the scenery now for a year. So from what I understand, it's coming along. So maybe that's the case with that particular project, is maybe he's inventing some new technology never before seen, and it's holding it up. I like to think that's the reason. We'll see. So Patrick says that Vista Mare equals nightmare. So and there's the right on cue. There's the CRJ comment there. No comment. All right, guys, we are getting ready to. Let me get some water. All right, let's get ready to do this. Vale should be coming up here any moment now. Come back on the power here just a little bit. As we have now entered the coverage area, you can see there the blending from FTX Global starting to make its way on in. And there's the aircraft carrier that we call Telluride. Right there on the slope there. Whew, scary stuff. Alright, so usually in every stream there is a crash because, you know, I'm not the best when it comes to flying in front of an audience. And for those of you who are used to tuning into my streams, it's become sort of a benchmark of my streams. I'm a crashing guy. So if it's going to happen, I guess it's going to be right into the side of this aircraft carrier here. So let's all pretend that all 50 or 60 of you are on board this plane, and you know, there's lives back there, so let's hopefully that will be enough impetus for me not to screw up here. Starting the final approach at 12,000 feet, a little bit high. So, yeah. You want to get high? Yes, we are definitely getting high today. Alright, so this is all stick and rudder here. Wow. Let's pull some spoilers and see if we can get rid of some of the speed here. Come on, slow it down. Because the gear is not coming down at that speed. We will rip it off. Look at that beautiful terrain. And there's the airport loading. I might be low enough. I think I can put the gear down now. Is the gear down? I see 3 green. Nope, not yet. There we go. Okay, cool. I have no idea what my approach speed should be because we didn't really utilize the computer at all. So this is all guesswork. I'm a little bit too low now. Final approach at 9,700 feet. Woo, way too low. Come on. I am coming in way too low. Come on, give me 2 whites again, please. There we go. 160 knots. As Bart Simpson would say, hi caramba. Oh, look at that cute little valley down there. Alright, focus, focus! I'm gonna hit the trees on my way in. Oh, this is just coming in way too low.
100, 50, 40, 30, 20.
Alright, come on, flare. Ah. Spoilers. And brakes. Please don't run off the edge! Oh, God. Ah. I think I can breathe. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Telluride. We have made it. And it's only, what, an hour into the stream now? We finally got to the airport. Alright, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in all its splendor. Jared Marshall's latest masterpiece. We made it. We lived. We survived. It's funny because even Jordan King, who watches some of my streams, and he flies around the Los Angeles area a lot, and he's like, yeah, I don't know if I want to go up on a plane with you after watching your streams, man. Alright, we survived. It's funny, speaking of the Hawker, a friend of mine, Calvin Frades from Elite Simulations over in Orlando, he sent me this text. I guess somebody had bought a Hawker 850 XP from someone in Mexico. For, I guess, maybe the owner. I don't know if the owner was in Mexico. I don't know what the deal was, but anyway, they contracted these pilots to fly the aircraft out from Mexico. And I guess you got to be careful when you're hiring these pilots. You really have to know who it is. Oh, look, there's AI. There's a little Cessna there. I guess you really have to be careful who you're hiring, because this pilot from Mexico, the first officer was American, so he flew down, and I forgot where they were delivering it to, but they were delivering it from somewhere in the States. We're going to run over that little Cessna because I want to taxi one up here. And I guess the guy was a legit pilot, so they hired this guy, and en route he decided to do some freaking barrel rolls in this thing, and he completely screwed up the fuselage. I mean, completely screwed it up. So when the plane, he did I think 4 or 5 rolls in the thing. Sorry, guys. He did 4 or 5 barrel rolls in this thing, and so when the plane landed, all the windows were in the wrong place, and there was holes, buckles in the fuselage that was a foot and a half deep, and so when he taxis the airplane up to the FBO, and everyone's looking at this plane, and they're like, dude, what the fuck did you do? And he's like, what? Yeah, we had a good, smooth, clean landing, or cool flight, everything worked fine. And so when he gets out and looks at the plane, and the plane is just smashed to pieces, and he's like, oh, well, yeah, I did land pretty hard. And so the guy basically just hightails it back to Mexico. And so I guess the first officer, he held up that little argument for a while before finally giving up and realizing, I should just probably tell the truth, which he eventually did. That they had completely ruined it. So I'll probably have to post a link up on airdailyx.net so you guys can read the story behind that. But insane. All right, here we are, folks. This is Telluride. And let's see, I guess there's probably no better time than to grab Avatar Guy. Should we do that now? Yo, what's up, guys? Yeah, it's been a while. It's Avatar Guy. Yeah, it's cool, man. So, yeah, man, up in Telluride. In fact, you know what? I'm probably not going to use. In fact, yeah, Avatar Guy, why don't you go get back in the plane? Oh, dude, sweet, man. Oh. Now that I realize it, I don't think I want to use Avatar Guy, only because when I use the Avatar Guy, we get these... Well, you know what? No, let's do that real quick. I do need to use him for something. Dude, you're such a douche, bro. Yes, I do need to use Avatar Guy really quickly. I wanted to put him away because there is an issue with Avatar Guy where we see all these stuttering. So you see all these like really nasty stuttery textures when he comes out. That's something that Lockheed Martin, I guess, needs to put a little bit more focus on. Something to do with alpha channels or something, I don't know. Anyway, Jordan's here. Hey, Jordan, he's asking, did I harden the whole airport? Yes, I did, and I was just getting ready to get to that. That's why I decided to bring him back out. I didn't want to bring him out just because of all of the stuttering textures that you get when he comes out, and I don't want anyone to think that, oh, man, what the hell's wrong with Jared's airport with all these stuttering textures? No, that's something to do with Avatar Guy. So, but I did need to bring him back out because, as Jordan was just pointing out, when we go with that severe harden, which really affects performance, which really not really affecting me here, and you guys should see on your stream here, I mean, the approach in was pretty fluid. Right now I'm getting between 31 and 39 frames per second using the 4098 textures or whatever it is. So everything is really set pretty high here. But yeah, I wanted to bring him back out so that we can take a look at these hardened textures. And what Avatar gets to do, little Avatar guy here, he gets to walk around with that feature turned on. So, oh, my mouth is getting dry. This is running my mouth for way too long here. Yeah, what up, bro? What's going on, man? Yeah, doing good? Yeah, it's cool, man, you know. Just, you know, getting used to this thin air up here, man, you know. It's like 9,000 feet, dude, yeah. So, yeah. It's actually 9,078 feet. We are way up here. So you can see here, like, these little ramps here are hardened. He will walk up them. And look at this. Even this, like, curb here, he'll even step up on the curb. Look at this. Look at that. Dude, if you think that's cool, dude, you're just weak. Like, who the hell thinks that's cool to, like, walk up on a curb, man? That's, you know, let's make him walk off the side. Did you see his arms flail? Chemo said he found the story. He's trying to post the link. I don't know if it'll work. I doubt it'll work. But yeah, wait, I gotta do that again. Watch his arms flail as he walks off. I know it's mean. It's so mean. But it's so funny. Watch his arms. Oh, I didn't see it that time. Darn it. Yeah, his arms kind of like flailed around as he went off the edge. Oh, dude, you suck, man. You so suck. I hate working for AirDailyX. Treat me like crap. The pay is crap. Although I do get to fly around on private jets, but, ugh. Alright, so here we go. Off to the parking lot, because everybody knows. Oh, you guys know how much that idiot likes freaking parking lots. Like, who the hell cares about a freaking parking lot, man? It's not like we're going to fly our plane into the parking lot, but he makes a big deal about it. Oh. I think that's what developers think when they're onto the parking lot stage of their series. Are like, oh, if I don't freaking paint the freaking lines on the parking lot just the right way, it'll be just like DeAndre to get into the stream and then point something out. So now I've got to freaking oh, what's up? What is up? Look at this. Look how she's walking. She's like a hippie. Look at, oh, she is way too short for me. Oh my gosh, no, I'm not hollering at that. No, sorry, have a good day. Yeah, no, that's too short. Although, you know what they say, you're always the same size when you're laying down. Okay. Okay, this stream is getting way out of hand here. So yes, the car park looking very nice here. We've got these these aren't K-wheels, these concrete blocks here. And all the signs, which says immediate pickup and drop off only. So you do see those fluttering textures there. Got some nice rocks here. Very lovely looking autogen flow. Some folks here having a little bit of a conversation. So yeah, just do keep in mind that the stuttering textures are really just an effect of Avatar Guy. Yeah, let's see, who's this over here? Hey, what's up, Sally? Oh! Avatar, get your ass back up there. That's what happens when you try to drop your game there, Avatar Guy. Dude, I was so gonna like try to get her number, but then I like fell. All right, let's see if we can just get him to pop back up here through the terrain. There we go. Ah! All right, there we go. He really hates when I do that, by the way. So here we are, folks. This is it. Lovely looking parking lot. Let's go ahead and get our way over to the ramp area again. Let's run. Patrick said he saw a girl running against the wall. Oh, wow. Nice looking Humvee there. Let's actually head up here and take a look at some of these other buildings at the top of this hill. So you can see this whole thing that we're running around on, all of this is a 3D object that Jared had to make in order to make all of this happen. So we've got a little trailer here, some trucks here. All of this is a 3D model. It is insane. We should be able to actually run off here towards some of these aspen trees. And this is another another big thing when you have the scenery. Another reason why you really need to make sure that you pay attention to how you install is because Jared has included these new custom aspen trees. The trees that are by default in this region are not accurate, and you need the correct trees. So he had to go in and model all of these trees exclusive to this to this airport. Sorry. So if you install the scenery, number one, if you don't install the latest version of the Orbx libraries, you're not going to have a good time. Or you're going to have a bad time. I forget how that South Park episode goes. Speaking of which, I just realized South Park Studios, where they make that show, is like 5 blocks from where I live. So I watched a documentary about South Park the other day, and I saw the building, and I was like, wait a minute, I passed that building on my way to work. So one of these days, I'm going to try to sneak into the parking lot. I know there's a guard booth there, but one of these days, I'm going to wait for that guard to leave, and I'm just going to like try to walk right into their South Park building and just be like, oops, I'm lost. Anyway, when you install the Orbx libraries, it's important that you go into the FTX Central. Very important you go into FTX Central and hit North America, or if it's already in North America, hit Global and then back to North America, or if it's in Global, then hit North America, then back to Global. Either way, because you need to make, if you don't do that, specifically, you will not see these aspen trees, and it's not going to look accurate. So again, you really want to make sure when you get the scenery that you pay close attention to everything, and it takes a minute to get set up, but it'll be worth it in the end, because I've already seen in the Orbx forums people posting things, oh, this isn't showing up right, and I have a hole here and that there, and it's like, you can clearly see who didn't read the manual. Who's that guy there running around the ramp? That's not acceptable. Kudos to Jared as well for including internal modeling here on the hangars. I love open hangar doors. Very nice. And we have another hangar door here with a guy who's working on an airplane. Let's come around here. So nice to always see open hangars. Probably what I would prefer is to... and this is something that we don't see all that much lately. It's something that we're seeing. I was about to say, is this plane going to hit me? That's my plane. That we're seeing with the sim object display engine, and I don't think it's something that Orbx is looking into as yet. Not sure if they're really looking into SODE or not. But back in the early days, you would have to tune a frequency to open up hangar doors, and that was something that I really liked, especially with Heathrow and old versions of Heathrow. You could tune a certain frequency to get across that road that separates like the hangar area from the rest of the airport, and you could open up that and close off the road, and then you type in another frequency, you could open up hangar doors. The sim object display engine now handles a lot of that, and that's probably something that might be nice to see Orbx look into in the future, is sort of that ability to open and close hangar doors, park your aircraft in, stuff like that. Thinking back on the Żywiecki Warsaw scenery, that was a nice element that he added, where within that sim object display engine you can pull up a menu that can open up, a hangar door, and there's like a 787 parked inside, and you hit another command, and a tow truck would then pull that 787 out of the hangar and into a parking position so that you could pull your own plane into the hangar if you wanted. It'd be nice to get a little bit more, I kind of like that interacting with the sceneries. And from what I've seen from a lot of people, I think a lot of you guys sort of like that as well, the ability to sort of interact with your sceneries and be able to open and close hangar doors and move static airplanes around and stuff in real time. That stuff is kind of fun. Back in the day, a lot of people would complain against stuff like that and say, well, I'm not here to play around. This isn't The Sims. I'm just here to fly my NGX. But one thing that I'm finding is a lot of people now, more than ever, are starting to get more interactive with the simulation. In fact, when I put that post up, I think it's been a week now, about the AI ship traffic, a lot of people, that post has over like 8,000 views. And a lot of people were basically saying, you know, now we can actually turn Flight Simulator into more of a ship simulator because of the way that Prepared animates waves and so on and so forth. So it really looks like now more than ever people are really wanting to get more sort of involved with the simulator aside from just flying. And of course, with the introduction to the Avatar, more people are, you know, when we do live streams now, or not live streams, but when we do group flights, there isn't a moment when somebody is not now getting out of their airplane and walking around with Avatar Guy. A lot of people are doing that now. It's a very good way to kind of explore a scenery and kind of, you know, hang out with your buddies and stuff like that. So to be able to interact more with the scenery by, you know, maybe opening doors, or whether it's a door to a building or a hangar door or stuff like that, or being able to, you know, move objects around. And who knows, maybe even at some point you'll be able to climb into a car and drive around. I mean, who knows what Lockheed is cooking up. But that's definitely something short story long, that might be a nice thing to see in the future, is to be able to actually open up doors, hangar doors, and pull your aircraft in and stuff and interact a little bit more with the scenery. Taking a look at these windows here, you can see here this reflection. I'm just trying to, you know, walk around in front of these windows here. Windows look very similar to the technique we use at Fly Tampa Sydney. You can see that. Some nice reflections going on there. I think the only thing I would have done differently, though, with these windows is you can see there that's kind of like photoreal used there. So there's some sort of image kind of here. I'm not sure what that is, but I probably would have elected to just have that completely clean and just have clean windows. But that's just me. But here you have some imagery there with some cloud reflections there. This does not make use of that prepared, I forgot what it's called, but a lot of you guys have saw it in the recent FS Stream Team Memphis previews. And all that stuff looks nice. I do like it, and when developers include it, I do make it a point to kind of show it off. But even on my super duper jetline system, you know, turning on those features can really drive down performance. So it's really nice to look at. But ultimately, it's still, I think, you know, it's still in its early stages. But yeah, I haven't really been flying around with it, with that stuff turned on, because yeah, it's a heavy load, especially when you've got AI and Active Sky and all that stuff running around. So it can be a pretty heavy load. All right, Avatar, thank you so much, man. Let's give him a hand. All right, guys, to the next live stream. See you later. Booyah. Let's go ahead and switch over to our helicopter. We're going to start touring the area a little bit and then heading into town. And it is high elevation, so hopefully our helicopter is gonna maintain itself well, because it's got to get well above 10,000 feet to get over some of these summits. So we'll see how that goes. Dr. I guess that's Pfizer. He's saying advanced reflection techniques are the same style that was used at Cairns and Brisbane airports, for those who remember back in the day. So there you go. The more you know. Let's try the MD-902. Let's see how that's going to hang out up here. MD-500, MD-900. Let's see here. Where's my helicopter? I guess this is fine. Let's see here. Alright, let's hope. FSUI PC, please. Let's hope. The most we can do is hope that we won't run into any elevation issues here. So we've got our helicopter. In fact, let's go to the first person perspective here. Oh, that's Jared. Okay. Okay, for those of you who are a little bit short, because I was really short on that, that's actually Jared. All right. Okay, there we go. Let's get her off the ground here. As we take off now, we're approaching 9,100 feet. And of course, now that Avatar guy is gone, we can see all those kind of crazy stutters and flickering textures are gone. So just taking a look here now, again, when we go back to that coloration that I talked about at the very beginning of the stream when we were looking at that PDF document about the coloration. So you can see here, there's kind of a line there between how the actual terrain's a little bit different from the this huge 3D object that we're sitting on. So if you remember the time, now local time right now is about 10 o'clock in the morning in the simulator. Whereas in the configuration tool it was set to about noon. So again, you can only really get one color for the 3D object, whereas prepared kind of has this entire terrain changing colors as the hours go by. Am I pretty much explaining that right, Jared? So here you can see a little bit of the difference between the threshold of the scenery object and the terrain. You can see there's a slight difference in color. Not a big deal, but again, these are things that you can go in and adjust as you see fit. For me, I think it's just going to be easier to keep it on default. It really doesn't bother me at all. And I don't really ever change my rec sky textures. I like a nice blue colored sky. I don't really go in for all those pink hues and purples and all that stuff. So I like to try to keep things a little bit simple. And yes, this is prepared version 3. So just taking a look around the airport here, you can see here all of this area here. For those of you who may or may not know, one of the early comments when Jared showed off the first screenshots was, I want the sloped runway and you're just flattening it because then the AI traffic can't land there, but you're flattening it. Maybe you're just being lazy and you don't want to put the slope in and I'm just going to whine. But what a lot of these people didn't realize is that in a period of like, what, 3 months or something like that, the airport authority actually went in and like freaking wreaked havoc on this entire plateau here and flattened out the runway. So the runway is pretty much flat now, and the works from all that, as you can see in this entire area here where all the construction was. So all of that has been included in the scenery, and it is all like different elevations. In fact, if we try to get a little bit lower here, switch to this outer view here, you can see that on the 3D object there are different elevations, so the whole thing is not flat. The runway is, but you can see here, you can't see the runway now, so you can see here it's all different little elevations here, and this is basically all the dirt and earth rather that was displaced in order to kind of flatten out the runway. So you can see all of that was done here, and obviously Jared could have just easily said, yeah, I'll just flatten the entire thing, no big deal. But I think ever since Flight Beam Denver came out, now people really want the actual varying elevations of an airfield. And of course you can definitely see that was done here as well. So, and there's a little tunnel around here somewhere. I might have passed it already. I think I did pass it. I have to turn around and head back to that little tunnel. But you have also the little tunnel there, the little thing going underneath the airfield, which is around here somewhere. Actually, helicopter's doing pretty well, hanging around up here at 9,000 feet. All right. Let's see, where's that little tunnel? It's around here somewhere. Oh, there it is. And there's our AI. There's a little tunnel there that goes underneath the runway and comes out on the other end. No water masking there. You can't really do any water masking on a 3D object. At least so far as I know of yet. Who knows what the future will hold. There's your little little tunnel there running underneath the runway. So we'll head back to the airport. Let's take a look at a little bit of the coverage area here. We're going to head over at the town and take a gander. And let's head down into the valley here. Really give us an idea at just how high this airport is. We're just going to swing right off the edge. Take a look at some of these areas down here. And one of the things that I love about Jared as well, especially, you know, going back to like Sedona, he really does go out of his way to make sure the roads are very nicely done and added into the simulator as well. And Patrick's asking, what's the code of Telluride, which is Kilo Tango Echo X-Ray? Very nice looking roads there. In fact, it's almost tempting to want to just get a car and drive around. I imagine in real life, I'll have to go on Google Earth and head down to the street view. I imagine this must be a beautiful area, just, you know, for a nice Sunday drive. Very lovely. And of course, we do see the water masking for the river here down at the bottom of the canyon. I don't have any AI traffic turned on for vehicles, so I don't know if we'd be seeing cars or not on these roads, but very nicely done. So I'm not going to follow this road all the way through. It's a very large coverage area, and obviously plenty of space for you to explore on your own. But we'll just turn around here and follow this road into town. So some very nice photo textures there. Lots of trees. And a nice crisp road running through it. Very lovely. Alright, let's give this thing some power. So indeed, Jared has made a name for himself for these high elevation airports. And I wonder how long he'll stick with these sort of high elevation airports things. I guess it's it'll be something interesting to see for the future. So far, he's been on a freaking rampage. I'm trying to think. Did it start with Jackson Hole and then we got Bozeman? That's another high elevation airport. This happened. It'll be nice to go back and look at some of those older airports, which are so nicely done. I know one big deal that a lot of people, though, when it comes to Orbx airports is the lack of animated jet. At some point, I did write an article on Bozeman. Oh, wow, what is this? At some point, I'm going to have to go back and do a live stream of a lot of these older airports that were released before live streaming capabilities happened. It'll be nice to go back and look at some of those older airports, which are so nicely done. I know one big deal that a lot of people, though, when it comes to Orbx airports is the lack of animated jet bridges. I think I can safely say that that's something that's going to be changing in the future. I believe that's something that's going to be changing in the future, but I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. But, you know, I've always said that, you know, because I was talking a little bit about AES a little bit earlier in the stream. Man, this just looks beautiful. Sorry, I had to cut myself off. This is just beautiful. I mean, that's the great thing about Jared is the airport is just a centerpiece of anything that he does. I mean, just looking around, I mean, if you don't take time to grab a helicopter and really explore, you're missing out on so much because you breeze by over this stuff going way too fast to really have any real appreciation for what's here. I mean, it looks great from the sky, but until you get close to it and fly through it, you really kind of cut yourself out on, you know, everything that you're missing. It really is an adventure. And Jared is saying YBBN and YMML have animated jet bridges. Oh, I didn't know that. I did not know that. I stand corrected. I thought they were all static. Look at this photo terrain, looking very lovely. When you get to see it from this perspective, as opposed to from the sky, on the approach, which is where we were before, I mean, it's really hard to really see it for what it truly is until you kind of come down from this perspective, and then you just get a whole different feel of everything. But yeah, even Palm Springs as well, a high elevation airport, because that's, you know, not high like this, but it is the Southern California high desert. So even that is a few thousand feet above sea level. And one after the other, Jared has been hitting these things out of the park. Very lovely. So we will be taking a look at some of the earlier works in Australia once I'm able to get all the quad installers installed. I have yet to do an Australian live stream, so that is definitely something that I'm looking forward to doing in the future. Thought I'd come here and take a look. Very lovely. The home of the rich, huh? It was funny. I thought it'd be nice to, you know, have a nice winter getaway in one of these Colorado mountain towns, and it's like, during the winter season, you better have $5,000 a night. Very nice. And there's actually a road winding up through there. Alright, let's turn around and head back. And, oh, Jared's saying a few things here. Let me try to scroll up here on the chat. Take my hand off the stick and hopefully we won't crash. And Jared's saying that was the brainchild of one of their retired developers, Marty Henar. He grew a few gray hairs working on that. I see. So wow. So I guess those are the the controlled J jetways. I did not know that. Yeah, I've always said that when it comes to Orbx, I mean, in talking about AES, you know, when you look at Orbx static flow technologies, or not static flow, but like the people flow technology and object flow technology, I mean, it's always seemed to me that Orbx has always had the sort of that ability to kind of create an AES or GEX type program of their own to work with their own airports. And that's something that I've always hoped to see at some point. You know, you land at an airport and the people flow walk over to your plane and bring the little baggage carts and belt loaders and stuff like that. You know, that's something that I've always hoped to see Orbx do, and I still hope that at some point that's something that they'll implement for their sceneries at some point in the future, because I've always felt like they're halfway there. You get a lot of animated trees and animals and vehicles and so on and so forth, and it would be really great to see Orbx at some point implement something like that for their own sceneries. AES over the years during its heyday made just an absolute killing. I mean, I think for like 5 or 6 years in a row it was Aerosoft's, you know, top selling product. And GEX is good, but it's not great. In my opinion, GEX is not as good as AES, just because of the fact that I have so many weird things. I see so many weird things. First of all, it's nowhere near as easy to set up a new airplane. You know, for the doors, where all the doors are and stuff. AES was always a lot easier. GEX is much more complicated. And then I always see a lot of weird things, like the guy who walks back with your aircraft. Sometimes his legs don't move. Sometimes the aircraft, you know, sometimes it'll drop me off in weird places. Like, a lot of weird things happen. And then if a certain door isn't open, it gives you a pain in the butt. Whereas, you know, let me just decide if I want to open a door or not. So it does have some bugs that I've noticed, and I find myself really not using it very often as a result of that. So I'm really hoping for some refinements with GEX. But as a platform itself, AES was better. The problem with AES is you have to wait for Oliver to get around to doing an airport, and developers shouldn't be subjected to that anymore. So that's why I think the Sim-Object Display Engine is a much better way to go these days, because you know, a developer doesn't have to wait on another developer to make something happen. So, but as far as Orbx goes, I think Orbx, you know, I would really like to see at some point Orbx developing all these technologies for their own sceneries and making them more interactive. I think that'd be great. As you can see, we have the animated lifts here. And if I slow down just enough, we'll see these bad boys moving here. And am I mistaken? I believe the first lifts we saw were in Misha's Lake Tahoe scenery. Misha, I know, just gets sick of me because we talk on a daily basis, and I'm always saying, hey, Misha, why don't you add this, and why don't you add that? Ooh, and you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do this, and you should do that. And it's like, he realizes it would be cool to do it, so he should do it, but then he realizes it's going to add a whole lot of extra work, so he doesn't want to do it. So I'm pretty much like the asshole of a lot of developers, because I'm like, hey, you should do this and add this. But I remember the ski chairs, that was like a big thing that I thought would be great for Lake Tahoe, was to do the animated ski lifts. And you know, developers are always trying to find a means to add as much as they can without adding too much time to the development process. And then some idiot like me comes on and was like, hey, you know, you guys should do this and you should do that. And then it's like, oh shit, now we gotta do all this extra work. And that was something that I did point out somewhere in some topic. I was like, I certainly hope it has animated lifts. And Jared hit me up and he's like, yeah, here it is, man. All right, damn it, there, okay. So Jordan is actually saying that FS2 Crew, that's right. I did remember something like that, that FS2 Crew was going to be making some kind of ground services add-on, and then we never heard anything. And that was like, what? I think that came across me like, what, a year and a half ago? That's actually a really good question. Really good question. And here we are, Station St. Sophia, and you can see them actually turning around and getting ready to head back down. I'm imagining these things never stop. I imagine it's kind of like the London Eye. It just keeps on moving, so you probably have to kind of walk along with it in order to get on, because if you stop one, then you've got to stop the line every time one of these things gets to the top. So I assume they're probably just in a constant state of motion. Look at this place, just beautiful. And look at the views. Let's just turn around and see the view you get when you're up at this building. Look at that. Just amazing. This photoreal is just excellent. And let's head back down the other side. Take a look at some of those fancy schmancy hotels. Hopefully I don't take out any trees with me rotor blades here. Look at that vista just out on the horizon there. And it's funny, let me just pause the helicopter here for a second. Look at the runway. And I noticed this. This is sort of a, I don't know, like a visual. I guess it's something to do with the brain, but if you look here, it looks like the runway is sloped, isn't it? Like it's sloping upward. But in fact, the runway is flat. but it's all the terrain around it that makes it looks like it's kind of like at an angle. It looks like it's kind of going upward away from us. And that's just an interesting eye perspective sort of thing. It looks like it's like really, really sloped, but it's not. That's just, I thought that was interesting. That caught my eye yesterday. I was like, wait a minute, it is sloped, isn't it? But no, it's flat. It's everything around it that kind of makes it look that way. It's really, really weird. But it's kind of a cool effect. And here we are at the village. Very nice. Some lovely tennis courts here. And kind of reminding me a little bit of LLH Creations and the Alps airports there. A lot of fun. Really love approaching those high elevation airports with the slope curved runways and all that jazz. Very nice. And all the roads coming through here. I mean, this place is amazing. I guess it's probably cheaper if you do find a way to stay here. I'm assuming it's definitely a lot cheaper to go, probably during the fall or maybe during certain parts of the summer. I know the winter, a place like this would just completely pack out because of the ski resorts, obviously. But this is definitely a place that is now like officially on my list to visit. Or maybe the better thing to do would be to stay in one of the more least expensive Colorado mountain towns and then just kind of drive around like a day trip and hit Aspen and Eagle County and Telluride. Do like different day trips. Ooh, I think I just gave myself an idea for the next family vacation. Very, very nice. Jared, is there anything that you would like me to head over to that you'd like to point out? And Jordan says there actually was an update. He's got a link there from January in regards to that FS2 crew thing, so I'll have to take a look at that. Yeah, I completely forgot about that, to be honest. Let me see. I'm going to actually land the helicopter really quickly here in one of these little openings and try to catch up on some of the comments here really quickly. I think I'm going to land it right over here. Yeah, this looks like a nice clearing. Alright, let me just catch up on some comments really quickly here. And Patrick's asking, will I revisit KPSP for the jetways if the new technology comes out? Well, if it does, maybe it'll be just kind of a multi-stream, kind of playing around with some of these things. We'll see how it goes. So a lot of questions about jetways and kind of the future of that. So I believe that the next airport that Misha's working on, hopefully he will find a way to get animated jetways working. We'll have to see how it goes. That airport will be announced at Flight SimCon. So hopefully if you're there, you'll see it. Alright, so we've got these very nice, look at that, the lifts there going through the town. Very pretty. And like I said, little things like that that make sure it's so much worthwhile to just kind of be able to watch the world go by. Very beautiful. Little things like that really do make all the difference. So Jared is pointing out that there is definitely a lot more to see, but definitely we want to leave a little bit to the for you to explore on your own. Obviously, as I stated, it is a very large coverage area. There's definitely a lot to see, and if you head over to the Orbx website there, you'll see how big the coverage is and all the little points of interest for you to check out. So one of the things I try not to do is show you too much, because then there's nothing really for you to explore on your own, and it's always a good thing for you to be able to explore a little bit on your own. So with that said, we're going to head back to the airport. But without a doubt, Jared has pulled it off once again. I mean, just how amazing is that? In fact, let's add some mood lighting, shall we? And this is a great example of how different times of day will affect your oh, I'm going to crash my helicopter here. The coloration of the scenery, so that's a perfect example. Trying to add a little bit of mood lighting there. Still a little not dark enough for all the little houses lights to turn on. Let me see if I can get it just a couple of inches here. There we go. So now we can kind of get a look at in fact, we didn't see winter yet. What am I thinking? We didn't even see the winter textures yet. Hang on. Alright, we got to do that before we go, obviously. Give me a second. Let me cancel this. Time and season. My poor helicopter's like spinning out of control. We did not see winter yet. My bad. Alright, let's see if we can do that in real time really quickly. Chris is asking, will FS Dream Team give me a chance to preview Memphis before release? That's up to him. An aviation guy says, I have a nice blog about news, but too bad I don't know how to use a simulator properly. What a shame. Okay. Well, don't watch. I've only been using a flight simulator since 1995, which is probably before you're born, but hell, what the hell? If I've been doing it that wrong since then, why not? Let me see you jump up here and try to do one of these streams, buddy. Buddy! Alright, here we go. So we've got some, the winter textures now. If I can get out of the helicopter here. There we go. And just for the record there, aviation guy, I'm not Matt Davies. I'm not frugal. I'm not here to show you how to fly. I'm here to preview products. That's the purpose of this. So if you're one of those people who look for every little thing that someone does wrong, and it's crazy because frugal, even as talented as he is, the second he does something wrong or not according to exact procedure, people are quick to tear him a new a-hole. About that, and it's like that's why I don't do that kind of flying. I'm not here to just show off flying the way everyone else does in front of an audience. I'm here to show off products. So if you've just discovered this, you probably want to go and head off to wherever you usually hang out at, because this is really about showing products, not about my ability to fly. And to be honest, I actually think the fact that I crash and don't do things right is all part of the fun anyway. That's what makes things interesting. So, taking a look at those aspen trees for the winter textures are looking very nice. All the green leaves are kind of gone there, and that adds certainly a lot of character. Jared went out of his way to add these new trees objects specifically, exclusively for this particular airport. And as you can see here, it adds a great deal of character to the scenery. I mean, it looks better in winter than it does during the summer. That's just gorgeous. Very nice. Alright, let's go ahead and head on back to the airport. Oh, I forgot about my mood lighting, didn't I? Time preview. Don't crash. Hang on. Put that back down. Just enough to get the lights here. There it is. Okay. There we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Jared, any... Oh, Jordan says, take Avatar guy down the sea slope. You know what? If someone who knows how to do the coding for that and can actually put like a surfboard underneath his, under his legs or something, or some skis, and it actually works, that might be pretty cool. Chris is adding if snowdrift was added to this scenery. I do not believe it was. I think that's a Fly Tampa thing. But that's a good point out, Chris, as far as like visual elements. Like, for example, you look at 29 Palms and like Dubai, for example, and how they have that sort of like little dust storms that blow through to kind of see like a little snowdrift type thing coming through. That actually would be pretty neat. In fact, let me kill Active Sky for a second. As we start to wind down here. Sorry, you're going to have a blank screen for just a second here. Oh, Jordan said he was able to get Orbx Bob to go down some of the ski slopes. That's interesting. I don't think he would, like, slide down them. I think he'd probably just stand there or walk. Jared saying, a quick note about time preview and prepared. Our object flow doesn't activate in this mode. You need to manually change the time of day, so runway lights, etc. won't be displaying at this point. So that's actually a really good point for him to point that out as well. I tend to use time preview because it's kind of a quicker, lazy way to kind of show the different sky textures and stuff without you getting a black screen, which is what you're getting right now. I thought I'd try to turn on some snow, but now everything has to load up again from scratch. And when you're in a stream live, it kind of kind of a pain to have to wait that out. But yeah, it's a good thing that he pointed that out as well when it comes to time preview. And a lot of sceneries are coded this way. I mean, default lighting will work that way, but obviously a lot of developers, Jared included, will use a custom lighting engine. And so these things need to be loaded up properly. They won't just turn on by a click of a switch, which is basically what I'm doing here. So very, very good point to point that out. Now, I turned on the Winter Wonderland theme and there's no snow. So that kind of sucks. So I was hoping to see some snow up here. And so that's why you don't see the runway lighting. You do see a little bit of the halos from the some of the building lights here. I guess in all fairness, I should probably... world weather. I guess in all fairness, I probably should just do that the right way. Hang on a second. Oh, there's the snow. It was snowing. I was like, I don't see the snow. The only other problem, too, when it comes to doing it the other way is trying to find out exactly the correct time in order for everything to show up right. Usually just hitting dusk doesn't always do it, but let me just try it anyway. Give me one more second, guys. And Jared says he found this out the hard way. He spent 3 hours trying to figure out why the runway lights weren't working. Yeah, I've had a few developers smack me on the wrist for that as well, because I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell is wrong with their lighting here? And and as it turns out, that it does have to be loaded up properly. So we're going to load the lights up properly because we should show it off the right way. Give us just one more minute. There we go. So now we've got... It is snowing, although you can't really see it at this hour, but there is snow. And now we have the runway lights showing up as they should. You have the nice town there out in the background. All the lights going on out there. We're going to go ahead and put the helicopter down back. Let's see. Let's find a place here on the ramp. What a beautiful location this is. Jared, I got to hand it to you again. I mean, it's not just enough to pick an airport that looks cool, that has a nice challenging element, but it's the environment as well that accompanies it. You know what I mean? Back in the day, developers were really just about the airport boundary and the perimeter fence. And even in many cases, they wouldn't even include the perimeter fence. I mean, the airport boundary is as far as airports would extend. And it's just so incredible now that when you buy an airport, you're not really just getting an airport. I mean, you really are getting so much more. And I know that a lot of people can have a tendency to complain about the price of some of these things. But, you know, when you look at how much effort, how much work that goes into it, and the fact that nowadays you're not just getting an airport anymore. You know, you look at Fly Tampa Sydney, for example, or Fly Tampa Dubai, and I mean, these things are including entire cities. With Sydney, it's not so much an entire city, but with Sydney, you get all of these extra elements that are going on outside of the airport in a large coverage area surrounding it. You know, back in the old FS9 days, you flew right over the threshold, and that was pretty much, you know, the gist of an airport scenery. And nowadays, I mean, there's just so much more that's added. And when you're sitting on the ramp of an airport, I mean, it just gives you an idea of how much more, you know, when you take off from an airport and you fly away, and it's like, for 5 minutes, you're still flying over, you know, the product that you bought, you know. So, I mean, it really just goes to show, and I mean, this is a lot of work. In fact, I'll let you guys in on a little bit of a secret. You know, after Misha, you know, he was here for a week, and after we did all of our little surveys and stuff that we did, he actually showed me how they go in and get the photoreal terrain. And then, like, I'm watching him do the work, because that was one of the things I always wanted to see for myself. I know what goes into it, but I've never actually seen it with my own two eyes. So I actually got to see, you know, how they go about acquiring the photoreal terrain. And then you have to go and put the stuff in Photoshop. And he fell in love with the Jetline, by the way, because he was impressed at how fast the Jetline rendered this photoreal imagery. And if I could give you an idea of how large this image area is, I mean, it was like the size of Los Angeles, the size of this photoreal imagery. And of course, a lot of it is offshore, so there's, like, you know, there's islands and there's all this stuff going on. And so he said, okay, now you're going to learn, DeAndre, you know, what we go through as scenery developers. You're going to see it for yourself, because I'm going to make you do it. So I might be able to take a little bit of credit for helping work on this project a little bit. But essentially, you know, you have to go in and you have to clean up the photoreal image, and this is something that I'm going to be pointing out in a live stream of another product that I'm going to be reviewing. Is this particular developer, he did not do a very good job cleaning up his photoreal. When you download it, it doesn't look like this. You see how beautiful it looks here? It doesn't look anything like this when you download it and put it in the simulator. It looks nothing like this. You wind up spending about maybe 3 to 4 weeks, depending on how large the coverage area is, cleaning it up, because a satellite, it'll take photos of clouds, and there's all kinds of stuff on the ground. And, you know, a satellite might take a picture of one area, and then in another year it might take a picture of another area, and it might all be included in the coloration is off, the blending is off. I mean, there's so much work you have to do to clean up the entire thing. And so he was like, all right, I want you to focus on this one little bitty area. I'm going to tell you how to clean it, how you do it, this, that, and the other. And I mean, it must have taken me probably 3 hours to do an area that's like maybe a quarter the size of just the airport. And after 3 hours, I'm like, oh shit, I can't. This is insane. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was having fun, but one of the things that he really wanted to do, because like I pointed out earlier in the stream, is I'm always saying developers add this, add that, add this, add that, and it's like, you know, the pressure is on because they're adding all this extra stuff. And I mean, something as simple as a freaking parking lot takes a lot of work to kind of clean up and make it look the way that it does. And so for me to actually physically see just what 3 hours of my life takes and how little I got done in that time, increased my respect over what these developers do like 1,000-fold. I mean, it's insane. So when you look at this, you know, this vast vista that's kind of lying out underneath you, I mean, it takes a long time to do this. You don't just get the photo terrain and then plop it in the simulator and then throw trees and then you're done. I mean, it takes a lot of work, and I'm really glad that I had that opportunity from Misha to really get an idea of how much work goes into just something as simple as a terrain. Now, in a project of this size, I mean, you probably figured to color it. Number one, you only get one season, so let's just make that clear right now, because usually when the satellites are taking the pictures, it's probably during the spring or during the summer. So what you have to then do is you've got to go in and color the terrain for winter. You don't download a winter image and then a summer image and then a fall image. It doesn't come out that way. And so what Jared then has to do is he then has to go in and he's got to color all this for winter. Now, number one, you need a powerful PC to generate this entire coverage area in Photoshop. And it was funny because when we loaded it up in Photoshop and then the jet line just like, I mean, it was like, and it was funny because I literally made this comment that it sounded like an airplane's engines were spooling up, and I never, ever heard the motors or the fans in this computer fire up the way that they did when he loaded in this photoreal imagery of this coverage area that he put on my computer. I never heard it fire up like that. And he was basically telling me, wow, DeAndre, on my computer, I like have to go away for an hour and eat a snack and then come back and then it's done. And my computer basically did the whole thing in like 5 minutes or whatever it was, but I never ever heard the computer fire up the way that it did just to load this huge image into Photoshop. And then, you know, you're looking at it from, you know, a high elevation, and you zoom in and you zoom in and you zoom in and you zoom in, and all the while this thing is just like, you know, so it's incredible. So, you know, you look at what these developers have to work with. You have to have a powerful machine to make it happen, and something as small as like 20 square miles can take hours to do, especially when it comes to water masking in particular. That was one of the things I was doing, was just water masking, and the water masking takes a long time. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I had to keep going back and like doing the Shift Control X in Photoshop to go back and then do it over and then go back and do it over and then go back and do it over. So I learned a lot. And one of the things that I learned is yes, I could definitely do something like this. This is because it was a lot of fun. It definitely was a lot of fun. But when you're a developer and you're releasing scenery after scenery after scenery, after a while the fun probably disappears, and it's a lot of work. So I say all of this for all of you developers out there that are either watching now or may watch at some point in the future. I mean, it's important that people really understand all the work and all the hell that you guys go through to make all of this happen, because it's a lot of work. And all I did was talk about the photoreal. We didn't even get to the part of now creating all of these miscellaneous objects, all the trees, all the autogen. I mean, so it's incredible, you know. And someone like Jared, who's probably been working on this for 6 months, a lot of these guys, they have it down to an art. And one of the things that I mentioned before as well is Misha's going to be having this seminar at Flight SimCon where he's going to tell you how to, you know, start a project, have a middle, have an end, have a self-deadline, and then keep to it. Because a lot of developers, we see a lot of these projects on FS Developer that start but they never finish, or they take like 4 to 5 years to complete. So he's going to have a seminar that if you're interested in scenery design, or if you're new to it, or if you're a developer yourself, he will have a means in terms of how you go about doing that. And it's going to be really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it, because I can now officially say that I know personally firsthand just how much work goes into doing these projects, and it's no joke. It's no joke. And you get carpal tunnel syndrome like after 30 minutes of the constant clicking. So a huge hats off to Jared and this lovely surrounding terrain environment. I wanted to, I guess we'll plop down in front of this hangar here, which has very nice lighting, by the way. I love that lighting inside that hangar. Really needed to point that out. And I like the way the shadows were done. The little part of the plane that's sticking out has a shadow, and just all the way the lighting's done, just all those little bitty things has really made what scenery is today. I mean, if we go back and look at what was going into sceneries 5 years ago, I mean, no one was doing anything remotely like this. And so we are definitely seeing developers pushing the envelope further and further and further. So when you see that price point on the product page, before you complain, because I get it, we all have jobs, none of us are rich, and you know, we all have to kind of, you know, spend wherever we can. But I mean, just keep in mind all of the work that goes into doing this stuff, you know, and as in comparison to a lot of other elements of the gaming industry out there, you know, we don't have that many people committed to making this stuff happen. But for those that are, I mean, it's incredible. And again, Jared there, if he's still there, I just really want to tip my hat off, because I know now what it takes to do all this. So, and even in the case with this particular airport, again, the high elevation, that just throws in a whole nother can of worms. And the fact that this entire airport and surrounding area is just a massive 3D object. To work at this high elevation, I mean, it's incredible. So I am in love with it. I hope you folks are in love with it. I hope you go out and buy it and support your development community. I'm going to take one last scroll through the comments before we close out for today. We've been running for a few hours now. Let's see here. Oh, and Jarrett was, yeah, Jordan is pointing out that, because Jordan also came out and met with, hung out with us a little bit while Misha was here, and Jordan is saying that, hang on, let me pull it up here. Trying to scroll back up to the comments here. Jordan was saying, where is it? Oh, Jordan was saying that he loved the jet line so much he went out the next day. That's right, Jordan actually took Misha out to Micro Center. And after he got some playtime on the jet line, and he said he loved it so much, we went out the next day to the computer store to build a replica of the jet line. So, yeah, no joke. So now Misha's finally at home running on a quality system that's going to help him get his development time down a little bit. Let's see here. And CONZ, Cons16, is asking Jared, how long was the development process for this? So, Jared, if you're still there. And then Jared is also saying, talking about photoreal cleanup, the PR, or photoreal for Telluride, takes 22 hours on his computer to render the source files to a BGL file. It took his computer 22 hours. So just think about that. I mean, he had to, like, walk off for a day so that his system could allocate all of its resources to render the source file into a BGL in order for it to go into the simulator. So that just gives you an idea of what these developers have to go through. It is insane. So I know when Misha did it on my computer, and I can't talk anything about this project or how big it was, but it, like I said, I just want to say it was probably about the size of Los Angeles. That's how big it was. And he had the whole thing up and running in my system in a matter of, I think, like 10 minutes or something like that. It was pretty crazy. But like I said, I heard sounds coming out of the system that I never heard before. But I remember seeing that smile on Misha's face was just like, oh my God, you know. So I was a little proud of the jet line that day, because I'd never seen what it really could do. So anyway, little play for those guys. And Jared is saying, DeAndre, following on what you're talking about terrain, as a reference, 70% of the development time of this project was spent on the surrounding terrain, coloring, cleanup, seasons, and autogen placement. So if you guys think about the airport itself, I mean, Jared probably could have done this airport in probably a week and would have been done, you know. But like he's saying, 70% of the time. So if it took him, you know, let's just say it took him, you know, 5 months or four to 5 months to do this. 70% of that time was just working on the surrounding terrain. 70%. And it took his system 22 hours to render it into a BGL file. So these are just some fun facts that I like to point out in these streams in terms of, you know, what these developers are going through to deliver this stuff for us. Let me just see here. And he's saying give or take roughly the same time as both Palm Springs and Vail. And a lot of guys just basically really cheering on Jared and his efforts here. So again, folks, let's head over to the product page. I think we've seen enough of the scenery now for you to get an idea. The whole purpose of these streams is for you guys to know exactly what you're getting yourself into before you buy something. And kind of the way this whole thing kicked off is, like I mentioned earlier, I've been simming since 1995. And one of the things that I will tell you, let's see, where's the product page? We want to get the product page. One of the things I'll tell you is over the years, I have spent an insurmountable amount of money on stuff that turned out to be shit. You'll see like a developer will post screenshots of an airport from certain angles and certain perspectives, and they'll show like a bunch of pictures of an airplane, and the terminal might be like way across the airfield and you can't see the terminal, and you know, you're one of those people who are like, oh my god, I've been waiting to get this airport, and then you go on SimMarket and you buy it, and it turns out to be an absolute piece of crap, and then you've lost all your money, and you can't get a refund, and you're just kind of screwed. And I've learned to look out for stuff like that. And when I see it, I do point it out on Air Daily X when a developer does stuff like that. In fact, I had a developer reach out to me a few weeks ago. He released a project, and I thought it didn't look that great. It looked like freeware quality to me, and he wanted like 20 or 25 bucks for it. And he was like, hey, can you write a post about my product? And I said, well, I can do that, but you're not going to like it. And I was very clear with him because I think he was overcharging for something that he wasn't giving close-ups. And I told him, I said, it's hard for me to determine your quality. I don't see any close-up images. Why don't you send me some imagery? He didn't send me any images. So a lot of people can rip you off that way, and that's kind of how these streams got started. But when it comes to guys like Jared, honestly, it's really not necessary. I do it because, number one, I want to support folks like Jared who do all this hard work, especially that I know, you know, all the stuff they go through. But I also do it because, I mean, you know, it's just, you know, a lot of you guys really want to see it. I know a lot of you don't have the money to get these things right away, but you really want to see a lot more than what the product page shows with the preview show. And so it's always a lot of fun to be able to do this. But when it comes to someone like Jared, I think 99.9% of the community doesn't even need to see a preview. Like if Jared were to say, okay, guys, my new project is going on sale tomorrow. I'm not going to show any previews. You just buy it. And then when you get it, you see what you get. I'm willing to bet you probably at least 5,000 people would just buy it, not even knowing what it is or having seen it. That's the kind of trust that, you know, folks like Jared has generated in this community. So that's a wonderful thing. Let's go over to the product page really quickly. Here we are at the Flight Sim store, which is the only place you can buy this. Australian dollars, $34.95. Where do I select currency? US dollars, $26.50. All right. So, I mean, for me, that's like a quarter tank of gas. I'd rather just buy the scenery. Let's see here. The US dollar is $26.50 for the euro. For my friends in Europe, €23.24. And for the pound, £18.57. So there you go, folks. Head on over to the Flight Sim store. Support your developer. Support Jared and his lovely works. He did an excellent job with Telluride. You have a huge coverage area. You've got a very challenging approach at high elevation. This thing is just fun all around and offers something for everyone. So definitely head out and get it. I'm going to take one last look at comments. Anything else? Kanza saying, brilliant scenery again. Thank you for all your intense work for the FS community, Jared. And a lot of acclaims for Jared's work. And Jared is saying you can land an airliner at the next one. Oh, the next airport that Jared is working on. Can I just say I know what Jared's working on, and I can't say what it is, but it's going to be freaking awesome! And yes, I will say this, Jared. Can I tell him it'll be a challenging approach, and you can fly an airliner? That's the only hint. I know, he'll probably kill me because I probably gave up too much already. But you guys are going to freaking love it, and I'm just like so excited. So anyway, that is it. The end of today's stream. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Wednesday morning. I will leave you to the rest of your evening. For those of you in Europe, for those of you in Australia where it's in the middle of the night, and for those of you in the States, you're probably at work on your lunch break watching right now and probably just moments away from getting in trouble. Probably the entire offices of Jetline Systems have crawled to a halt. So if you're wondering why your PC is late, it's because they're probably all sitting around watching the stream instead of doing any work. So I am out of here. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Happy flying out there, and I will see you all for the next broadcast. Thanks again, and goodbye.